Hello and welcome to Sustainability in Action, the shape of things to come. This is an Energia update show live from our studio here in the heart of the city of Amsterdam. We're based in this beautiful Art Deco old cinema. We're also live from Embraer's global headquarters in São José dos Campos, where my colleague and co-host Johanna Bota is right now. Hi, Johanna.
Hello, Arthur. Great speaking to you here from Brazil.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say throughout the show, and we've got loads to look forward to. But in November last year, Embraer announced 4 new regional aircraft concepts carrying up to 50 passengers. The Energia family was born. Now, these are new concepts. They're bold solutions for a more sustainable future and are a viable way of helping the aviation industry achieve its goal of net zero carbon emissions by 2050.
That's right, Arthur. Plenty has happened since the announcement of these concept aircraft just over a year ago. The initial designs for the exterior and interior of the aircraft have evolved, and new partnerships have been announced. Over the next hour, we're going to discover and discuss the progress made on these concepts from the people directly involved. Senior Embraer executives and Embraer's engineering team will be sharing a very special 360 video presentation right here in this amazing hangar. I'm also going to give you a sneak peek behind the scenes at the Design and Innovation Center, where the Energia concepts were first conceived.
Thank you, Johanna. How exciting. Well, we've got a packed show for you today, and I'm delighted to welcome our first guest, Adriaan Meijer, who's the President and CEO of Embraer Commercial Aviation. Adriaan, welcome to the show, and welcome to our bold new studio. What do you think? It's pretty impressive, right?
Thank you, Arthur. I'm very happy to be back, and the studio looks great.
Good. Well, I can't wait, and I know I speak for many people out there, to hear about the Energia program updates and everything. And I understand that you're going to tell us pretty much exactly why Embraer are doing this.
Absolutely. Let me give you an introduction for today.
Please.
Climate change is a crisis that is threatening our peace and security, our economic well-being, and our way of life. At COP27, which was held in Egypt last month, the United Nations Secretary General outlined in stark reality the situation the world will find itself in if we do not take collective action now. I believe the aviation industry is one of the industries that has really embraced the sustainability challenge. It set itself the goal to be net zero by the year 2050. And here at Embraer, we have embraced that target. We are exploring and evaluating a number of new technologies to accelerate the deployment of zero-emission regional aircraft. Smaller aircraft are going to be the first platforms on which new propulsion systems will be introduced. Simply because we can apply those systems more easily on a small scale, before we put them gradually on bigger and bigger aircraft in the future. And let us keep in mind, the challenge is not only the size of the aircraft. It is also the application of these technologies at 30,000 feet height and minus 60 degrees Celsius temperature. And we strongly believe that technology will allow us to create new solutions. However, also commercially and operationally, our industry will need fundamental changes to accommodate these new zero-emission aircraft platforms. Most importantly, we need a level playing field between airlines in order to allow investments in these new platforms. Last year, we announced to the world our 4 sustainable aircraft concepts within the Energia family. These concepts are part of our long-term sustainability roadmap. A roadmap that encompasses the development of existing and new products, applying sustainable technologies across our product line from today all the way until 2050. The launch of these concepts was Embraer's response to our industry challenges. We wanted to present our view on a realistic way forward towards net zero platforms. It was also a call for a dialogue with partners globally to work together on these concepts. And finally, it was an invitation to airlines to have a conversation about the demand for net zero aircraft in the smaller aircraft segment up to 50 seats. These new concepts, as well as the implementation of renewable energies and new technologies on existing platforms, will be key to getting us to carbon neutral operations by 2050. Emissions from fossil fuels combustion have risen every decade since the start of the Industrial Revolution more than 2 centuries ago. With the demand for energy services growing ever larger, we are at a pivotal moment if we are to reduce global warming. Every 0.5 degree of global warming increases the intensity and frequency of extreme weather phenomena. Around the globe we are seeing this effect. The heat waves in Europe this summer and the devastating floods in Pakistan are 2 examples of this. Unless we make immediate and large-scale reductions in greenhouse emissions, achieving net zero goals and reducing global warming will be beyond reach. But the good news is that by the end of this decade, we will have more power from clean energy than from fossil fuel. And critical to closing the gap with climate objectives are energy efficiency improvements and innovation strategies. For many clean energy technologies, we are seeing an incredible lineup of new announcements and plans. In some cases, already meeting the net zero 2050 goal. More stringent efficiency standards and policies encourage fossil fuel being switched to cleaner and greener energy sources. In the past 60 years, also aviation has reduced emissions by 80% per seat mile. This puts our challenge in perspective, because our industry needs to achieve the same level of emission reductions as in the past 60 years, but then twice as fast in the next 30 years. This will require every technology available. Focusing our efforts and resources solely on one particular technology, be it hydrogen, SAF or electricity, is not going to work. We are going to need all of the technologies. And this is the big challenge, not just for Embraer, but for the whole industry. A holistic approach will be the quickest way to deliver the change required. Throughout our history, we have overcome every hurdle put in front of us by employing new and radical thinking. And our real-world expertise and knowledge has ensured a track record of bringing disruptive technologies to the market on time and on budget. Energia is the embodiment of these qualities. Since we announced our Energia concepts last year, we have been busy evaluating different architectures and propulsion systems in concert with key partners. In parallel, we consulted with airline customers about their needs and their requirements. These efforts have resulted in updates of our concepts that we are glad to share with you today. A number of our airline partners are now part of our newly established Energy Advisory Group to take this concept forward in a potential future product. The experience and knowledge they will bring to the study will be a key foundation of Energia's successful development. I believe we have set bold but realistic goals for these concepts to come to the market. Later in the show, we'll be sharing with you the latest designs and the progress we have made with 2 of our Energia concepts. But for now, it's back to you, Arthur.
Thank you very much, Ali. And there are huge hurdles to overcome if we're to help global warming and the wider environment. I can't wait to see what you have to say later. But as we've just heard, there are many challenges and opportunities to consider when developing a new generation of sustainable aircraft. Collaboration and sharing new ideas will be invaluable to the success of this venture. Coming up, we'll be hearing from Rodrigo Silva e Souza, who's the Vice President of Marketing at Embraer, on the market opportunity, commercial viability and economics of the Energia concepts and how they are ideally suited to the constantly evolving aviation landscape. But before this, let's go back over to Brazil and Johanna. Johanna, we can't wait to hear about the 360 presentation.
That's correct, Arthur. We are about to start the Energia 360 update presentation. Now, as you can see, our invited guests from across the organization are already in their seats, and they are so excited about the 2 Energia concepts that the engineering team will be taking us through. The Energia H2 fuel cell and the Energia electric hybrid. See you shortly.
Sounds brilliant, Johanna. Can't wait, and we'll see you shortly. Meanwhile, here in Amsterdam, I'm now delighted to be joined by our second guest, Rodrigo Silva e Souza. Rodrigo, what are you most looking forward to about the Energia concept?
We are looking here at the market and the trends towards regional air mobility and how this can really transform commercial aviation industry in the future.
And you're going to bring us up to date with the commercial viability of this project, aren't you?
Yes, we'll look at some data of the market that we have been studying and the potential demand for this aircraft.
Perfect. Well, then I'll hand the floor to you.
Thank you, Arthur. We are very excited about looking at this new opportunity of regional air mobility that could be opening with the introduction of new technology. Since the last event last year, we have studied the market, we have talked to operators, suppliers, other stakeholders in the industry, and we are convinced that there is significant potential. We have studied the market trends. We also look at the system bottlenecks, which is very relevant for this subject. And we believe that if the industry is able to address some of the key points that needs to be addressed to unlock the demand, we could see the opportunity to not only introduce new sustainable aircraft that will pave the way towards achieving the goal of net zero emissions, but also make a very good business case from it. So we will start now taking a look at some of the macro trends affecting regional air mobility. So the first trend, and perhaps the most important, is the pressure to decarbonize. So we have seen the countries member of ICAO committing to the long-term objective of achieving net zero emissions by 2050. That leaves no room for us to have doubt what we need to achieve, and actually can favor the introduction of smaller aircraft with new sustainable technology. The second trend, very important, is the growth of regional aviation. We see that because of the retreat of globalization, strengthening domestic markets, and also the working from home effect, leading people to leave the urban areas and therefore decentralizing demand to smaller cities. The third one is volatile fuel prices, and also, I should say, increasing carbon costs. So these may attract actually passengers that are flying today in connecting flights, for instance, to move to point-to-point operations with those smaller aircraft. And finally, congested urban areas. So it's increasingly expensive to add new infrastructure to improve the transportation on the surface. It's much cost-effective and also much more sustainable to use existing airport infrastructure to improve mobility. So those are four trends that we see benefiting this regional air mobility. Two other very interesting data points. First, on charter flights, 25% increase in 2022 compared to 2019. And another one is 32% of people surveyed about their preference for destinations on vacation. 32% prefers going to destinations closer to home compared to 14% that would prefer destinations that are farther. Of course, those two are related to trends that we saw because of the pandemic, but part of the that demand for sure will remain. In addition to market trends, we also have looked at some innovations on the product side and on the customer journey. So one of the benefits of this new technology is to reduce operating costs. And of course, once you reduce costs, you can stimulate demand. Also, we are talking about more sustainable ways of transportation that could attract more passengers. Airlines could benefit of these new tools to actually integrate more their network and offer better services for passengers, including higher frequency. And finally, all this could be done in a more digital way, facilitating the customer experience. So the benefits for the passengers and for the airlines are significant. So what does it mean in terms of demand for this type of aircraft? In addition to the, let's say, business as usual demand, we see the potential of accelerated replacement, because now you have benefits of operating costs and also the appeal of the higher sustainability. We also have new use cases. With this new technology, we might see actually people, instead of driving cars to long distance, preferring to take a flight that would be actually cheaper, more convenient, and more sustainable. And finally, we see also the possibility of new cargo uses, which we will not study here today. We will concentrate more on the first two, but that's something that we want to study more for next year. One example of new use is the comparison of the same trip. Here we are using 200 nautical miles between a person driving a car or driving a car and taking a flight in one of those sustainable aircraft. In this example here, we are considering a 30-seater fuel cell aircraft. So the difference is huge, 2.5 times faster the trip with the airplane comparing to driving a car. And this is not considering that this person that drove the car might need to sleep over in a hotel and come back home only the next day. But in addition to that, we are talking also benefits in terms of affordability. The trip on the right would be 25% less expensive and also more sustainable, 25% less CO2 emissions per passenger. But of course, we have also some relevant challenges. First, airport network, which is really well established in US and also in Europe, but would need to be more developed in other parts of the world. Pilots availability, that is a critical issue today worldwide, and especially in North America, I should say. And this, of course, would have to be addressed to deal with the demand for this new aircraft that we are talking about here. Also, the operators' willingness to adopt this new technology. We don't know which type of operator would be adopting this new aircraft. Would it be, let's say, current regional operators? Would it be charter operators? Would it be a new type of regional operators? We still don't know, but we see the potential there. And of course, infrastructure for the two new sources of energy. Battery electric, so you need the charging infrastructure for the electric energy, and also the infrastructure to refuel hydrogen. But of course, it's also very important is to talk to operators. So we actually did a survey with 30 of them from different parts of the world, from different, representing different business models, to understand what are the critical factors they would consider to adopt those new aircraft. Not surprisingly, the first one is total cost of operation. So of course we want to address, we want to develop more sustainable solutions, but they also need to make economic sense. So this is a very important input. The next ones are related to product characteristics. Range. So it doesn't work if one of those new aircraft are too much limited in terms of range. To be practical, it needs to have significant range to be able to provide operators the needed flexibility. And also, of course, they need to operate in different types of weather, and also in the runways that we are considering here on regional aviation. And the other two very important factors, very interesting, that they mention is the importance of customer support and OEM credibility. So it's not only about the aircraft, but it's the support to the operation, and also when introducing those new technology, what they have mentioned is that to attract passengers, it's good to rely on a credible aircraft OEM to make sure that passengers feel comfortable with the new technology. So all this take into consideration, what we have done is estimated the unconstrained potential demand for this aircraft between now and 2035. And we have come up with 3 different scenarios. The first one we called substitution, and we have estimated about 4,000 aircraft delivered up to 2035. Again, it's unconstrained demand. We are not considering here the limitations of production ramp-up. But in this scenario, what we are considering is the simple replacement of part of the fleet plus some natural growth based on historic levels. The next scenario we called evolution, and that takes into account the benefits of operating costs and also sustainability. We believe with those 2 factors, some operators could be looking at replacing their aircraft earlier than normally. So this would take the demand, the first scenario of 4,000 to something like 7,000 units being delivered up to 2035. And finally, if we consider the benefits of the new uses, just a small portion of the people that are driving cars today, or people that are connecting flights in bigger aircraft and would benefit to do a point-to-point in a smaller aircraft, this demand could go up to 20,000 aircraft up to 2035. So a pretty interesting demand there for the aircraft concepts that Luis Carlos and his team are working on. What do you think, Arthur?
It's fascinating, Rodrigo. Thank you. It certainly makes sense from a business standpoint, doesn't it? All we, as you say, all we need now is the engineers to come good and turn these concepts into a reality. But the market for regional aviation is changing significantly, and that's because of new work patterns, a growing demand for travel and the opportunity for new routes. And to meet these needs, a completely new generation of sustainable aircraft powered by renewable energies like the Energia are what's needed. The demand is there. Well, there's not long until we see the Energia update that we've all been waiting for from the team in Brazil. But before that, I'm pleased to be joined in the studio by our final guest, Senior Vice President of Engineering, Technological Development and Corporate Strategy, Luis Carlos Afonso. Now, Luis, welcome to Amsterdam.
Thank you, Arthur. Big pleasure to be here.
I'm fascinated by engineering, so I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say about turning how you at Embraer are going to turn these concepts into, hopefully, prototypes and then a working model.
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure. We are very excited to be here and share with you and our audience our latest developments.
Well, we can't wait to hear them, and I know that you've got a lot to say, so I will not stand in the way and I will let you go from here.
Okay, thank you. Global air travel has changed considerably over the past decades. Thanks to major improvements in technology, air travel is more efficient, making distances between countries seem shorter than ever. The ability to seamlessly move passengers from their origin to their final destination unlocks economic growth, helps people continue living in regional locations, and also spurs tourism, which is vital to many countries' economic prosperity. At Embraer, we are very proud to be a catalyst for human connectivity, introducing to the market aircraft that set a new benchmark in efficiency, performance, and economics. And there are no excuses to let environmental concerns aside. Under 25 years, our commercial aviation aircraft have reduced by almost 50% fuel burn and CO2 emissions on a seat-mile basis. Climate change is one of the biggest challenges faced by humanity, and Embraer is fully committed and very excited to be a key player in the noble cause of decarbonizing aviation. Aiming to set a new cornerstone in aircraft emissions and address that challenge, new propulsion and energy technologies less reliant on fossil fuels are being developed. Hydrogen, battery electric, and hybrid electric technologies allow us to frame and cast the future of sustainable aviation. And given the needs to peak carbon dioxide emissions still this decade, it is our responsibility to pursue the deployment of these technologies with the fastest possible routes that makes them viable. Therefore, our journey to a fully sustainable future aircraft fleet will likely start with smaller commuter and regional aircraft, which, by their specific mission characteristics, may be developed earlier, delivering a truly sustainable solution. This will enable the scaling up and infusion of lower or zero carbon architectures on bigger aircraft in the future, while still delivering a viable solution for shorter haul flights of today. As Arjen stated earlier, Embraer has over 5 decades of experience in the commuter and regional segments, giving us real-world knowledge of the complete life cycle of this aircraft, from conceptualization, development and certification to product support, phase-out and replacement. Given this background, and with a clear view that new propulsion technologies will be first applied on smaller aircraft, we are performing prospective studies on the Energia concepts, evaluating a number of propulsion technologies including SAF, fully electric, hybrid electric, hydrogen electric, and hydrogen combustion. Additionally, other architectural combinations are also being explored. All these options create a broad design space, and to guide us during this study phase, we have a mantra: the mission defines the architecture. As part of Embraer's DNA, we focus on customers' needs and how they must drive technology development and integration to generate a successful product. In addition to the 4 Energia concepts we announced last year, we have over 20 concepts under study, giving us the best opportunity to find the sweet spot of each solution. These concepts go through a funnel process, which, in one hand, we use Embraer 50+ years experience to assess their technical and economic feasibility, and on the other hand, inputs from airlines and joint studies with propulsion OEMs to collect valuable insights to steer the concepts towards completion. By doing so, we evaluate several concepts in parallel, accelerating the convergence of product solutions while maintaining an eagle-eye view of the complete design space. Throughout 2022, we have been focusing our studies in the 19 to 30 seat concepts, while continuing to look at our other Energia concepts in smaller exploratory studies. The 19 to 30 seaters are sensible starting points for focused studies, since they are likely to present earlier technical and economical readiness. After these assessments are more advanced, we will start exploring larger aircraft, seating around 50 passengers. Aiming to cover different customer requirements while maximizing the reuse of resources, a family approach is a key consideration. Hydrogen fuel cell was our 2021 choice for the 19-seater. During 2022, we have studied the applicability of this technology to a larger member of the family, a 30-seater. These studies will continue in the coming year to further explore the advantages and considerations of this propulsion system. Our 2021 hybrid electric concept was a 9-seater. This year, we scaled up the hybridization strategy employed in this concept to larger aircraft, seating 19 to 30 passengers. In our parallel hybrid architecture, the thermal engines are optimized for the cruise phase, and the electric engines provide localized power boosts. In line with our mantra, the mission defines the architecture, Embraer is conducting an advisory board with airlines, aiming to check if concepts are meeting their needs and requirements. We at Embraer are extremely excited to help build the future of aviation and contribute to a more sustainable world. Shortly, Fred and Rafa, two top engineers of our pre-design team, will share more details about these birds with you. With that, it's back to you, Arthur.
Fascinating stuff. Thank you very much, Luis Carlos. I love the engineering point of view. And I mean, just what a time to be alive to see what is actually a real generational change in aircraft technology. It's absolutely fascinating. But it's nearly time for the big event that we've all been waiting for. So without any further ado, let's get ourselves back over live to Brazil.
Thanks, Arthur. We are moments away, and I can feel an amazing energy in the room. Embraer's engineering team have a mix of expertise, knowledge, and skills, all vital to the success of the Energia initiative. And I was lucky enough to be invited behind the scenes to see Embraer's design, development, and innovation facility, where all the magic happens.
I caught up with Rafael Gama Ribeiro, one of the lead engineers on Energia.
For us, it is key to have a great collaboration between people because we are all learning as we go. So this is new for us. We have a lot of new concepts, a lot of new propulsion systems, a lot of new knowledge. So we always try to incentivize the mixing between the ideas and the exchange between people so that everyone is comfortable with sharing their ideas.
I also met Fred Simões, who told me all about some groundbreaking solutions that the team are currently working on.
We're not designing a technological toy only. We are designing a workhorse for the commercial aviation. The aircraft must be perfect not only on emissions, but also on noise, the economical aspects, and the infrastructure and operations.
It was fascinating to see behind the scenes and to have a chance to catch up with Fred and Rafa, who, by the way, I have the pleasure of having right here in person. So now we're ready to go.
To see the next generation of sustainable aircraft. To achieve this transformation, we started with a broad perspective, studying over 20 aircraft concepts, evaluating their advantages and feasibility, narrowing our focus to 4 concepts. The Energia family, announced at our Sustainability in Action event last year. Today, we'll show you the Energia concepts. We have been evaluating and exploring Energia H2 fuel cell and Energia hybrid electric. carrying 19 or 30 passengers. They are a good starting point to assess technical and economic viability and understand how new technology and propulsion systems could be transferred to power larger aircraft. We have decades of experience developing and bringing to market aircraft that have changed the direction of travel. So join us on this new journey. See the progress we've made so far and the shape of things to come.
Welcome everyone to Embraer's facility here in Brazil. We are very proud to represent Energia's engineering team, and we will now provide you an overview of the key concepts, key technical features. Last year, in the Sustainability in Action event, we showcased our Energia aircraft concepts. A big step in our goal to net zero carbon emissions in aviation by 2050. Since then, we have been focusing our studies on the hydrogen fuel cell and hybrid electric technologies applied to 19 to 30 seat aircraft. The Energia hybrid electric, powered by jet fuel or SAF and small batteries, is simpler when it comes to technology implementation than the Energia hydrogen fuel cell concept, and therefore could potentially present technology readiness sooner, in the early 2030s. Carbon emission is reduced by 90% when using SAF. Now, the Energia hydrogen fuel cell has the potential to become the first clean-sheet hydrogen-powered aircraft with zero carbon emissions, presenting robust technology readiness around 2035. In order to decrease carbon emissions to zero, additional technologies and infrastructure need to be developed for these aircraft. We would like to take you now on a 360 tour of each of these concepts, looking at the features and capabilities, starting with the Energia hydrogen fuel cell. Hydrogen is a highly promising energy carrier in our journey to achieve zero-emission flight, enabling us to generate propulsive power and reducing carbon emissions to zero. When hydrogen is fed into a fuel cell, NOx is also reduced to zero, and persistent contrails are much less likely at typical altitudes for a propeller-driven aircraft. Hydrogen fuel cells have the potential to run as a single propulsive power source or as a hybrid, in combination with thermal engines and batteries. At the rear of the fuselage, you can see the fuel cell stacks, where hydrogen reacts with oxygen from the ambient air and produces electric power and water as main outputs. Regarding the energy conversion, fuel cells can be much more efficient than small gas turbine engines. However, they are heavier and dissipate a great deal of heat, bringing to the aircraft designer a very important consideration in terms of thermal management. We have been exploring a number of optimization strategies for the fuel cell thermal management. Trade is studying the system weight and drag, aiming to reach the most balanced solution at the aircraft level. This air inlet you can see here at the base of the vertical tail feeds ram air to the heat exchangers, which addresses part of the fuel cell heat rejection. With a carefully designed flow path, the system can help to minimize drag and even provide some thrust at cruise conditions. As you can see, the propellers are at the rear of the aircraft, and this greatly reduces noise inside the cabin. And by using electric motors and unloaded propeller blades, external noise will be reduced. Another advantage of the rear installation is that we can design a very efficient clean wing, avoiding the mutual interferences with propellers and nacelles. Embraer has decades of experience in advancing aerodynamics, structural design, and systems installation. And we are bringing all this knowledge to this clean sheet concept. This is key to perform an efficient and balanced integration between complex fuel cell systems and the airframe. Rafael will now provide you an overview of the interior concept and also the hybrid electric family.
Thank you, Fred. Hello, everyone. Let's go inside the fuselage and look at the cabin. This is the 19-seat version and the first iteration of the cabin concept, maximizing space and comfort while at the same time providing a welcome feeling for all passengers. As you can see, we have a 3-abreast configuration. The interior has been sized for a comfortable walk-through along the cabin, giving passengers space where they need. And throughout the cabin design, we are using innovative processes to generate more intelligent solutions, with technological research bringing the important use of sustainable materials. We are leveraging our cabin design experience from the E-jets and executive jets to maximize the passenger experience. Innovation, connectivity, comfort, quietness, and smart design are the pillars for every interior decision. With this aircraft and the Energia hybrid electric, which I'm going to show you next, we are considering also a larger 30-seat version. These could give customers greater flexibility depending on their performance requirements, regional location, and business model. The 19-seater is a high-performance, faster, shorter-fueled platform, while the 30-seater offers better economics per seat. Both are sized for a range of at least 200 nautical miles. It is important to highlight that Embraer includes regulatory energy reserves on this number, which also considers degradations while aging in service. Now, I would like to show you our second aircraft concept, the Energia hybrid electric. Compared to the Energia hydrogen fuel cell, the first thing to notice is that this is a smaller and lighter aircraft. Therefore, it features a smaller wing, which is repositioned due to center of gravity reasons. Unlike the hydrogen fuel cell, there's no need for an air inlet at the base of the vertical tail. This is because the Energia hybrid electric does not require large heat exchangers. It employs a parallel hybrid electric architecture that maximizes the synergies between thermal and electric engines. Next generation, cruise-optimized thermal engines will be key to deliver a significant reduction in fuel consumption on energy-intense flight phases, offering great power density. The small electric engines you see here are used when shorter power boosts are required, when the aircraft is taxiing, taking off, or climbing, for example. By doing so, we avoid the utilization of large batteries, which would add significant weight and costs to the aircraft. Similar to the Energia hydrogen fuel cell, the hybrid electric features a clean wing design. As you have seen today, we are making great progress, and over the coming months, we will proceed with the studies, gathering important feedback from customers via advisory boards, which will guide our next steps. By using a tried and tested process and delving deep into all key aspects, comprehensive understanding of customer needs, cutting-edge technologies, new propulsion systems, economics, sustainability, infrastructure, market viability, we are confident this will give us the solid foundation we need to accelerate to the next phases. We are living in a unique and exciting moment. The technical challenges ahead of us elevate our engineers' spirit, and we at Embraer believe this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to change the world and aviation. This is really a great time to be an engineer. On behalf of the whole Energia team, I thank you very much for watching, and we look forward to bringing you another update soon.
Thank you, Rafa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred. Wow, what an inspiring project to be working on. Arthur, back to you in Amsterdam.
Thank you very much, Johanna. What an exciting time to be a part of the aviation industry. A brilliant presentation. All credit to the team out there. Now, back here in Amsterdam, I'm joined by our contributors today. We've got Rodrigo Silva Souza, we've got Luis Carlos Afonso, and of course, Ariane Meyer. Guys, your reaction to that. Rodrigo, what did you make?
Very, very excited. I love the concepts. I think it's very aligned with what we have heard from the market. Very competitive, very consistent proposition, so I can't wait to see those aircraft flying.
And Luis Carlos?
It's very exciting indeed. It was great to see Fred and Rafa presenting and see our Energia team with lots of passion and competence. So I believe with that we are very well positioned to lead.
And you work closely with those two?
The future of aviation, yeah, absolutely. I do, of course.
And Ariane, I mean, just the concepts, we saw them clearly there. They are beautiful aircraft.
I think it's amazing. I think Energia will give us energy going forward. I think this is really a new future that we see emerge here. And I think the concepts are great. It's great to see that we're now honing in on two dedicated concepts, and I can't wait to talk to customers tomorrow in more detail.
No, I can't wait either. But right now, we've got about 20 minutes or so and the opportunity for people to get in touch and ask the questions, and they have. So, as I say, 20 minutes of questions and answers. We've got the first one come in. Ariane, this is to you. It's describe Embraer's overall strategy towards sustainability and how it differs from the approach of other OEMs.
Yeah, so great question. So first of all, we have an ESG strategy as a company, which first of all covers our scope 1 and 2, as we say, for our internal reductions of CO2 and other emissions. But more importantly for today is our scope 3. We've really embraced the 2050 targets to get to net zero. Our strategy first and foremost, and that's not new today, but we've done that for many years, is really to bring the best and most fuel-efficient aircraft to the market. We've done that with the 145-50-seater at the time. We did it with the E-Jets. We did it with the E2, where we constantly put new technology into service, deliver the best fuel burn possible. And we're committed to keep doing that going forward. So we're embracing a SAF path to make sure our existing products get even more CO2 efficient with SAF. We're embracing new technologies, as we are seeing today, and hopefully we can propel those new technologies forward. And we believe with the 50 years of experience that Embraer has, we have the capacity and the capability to really make that happen, as we've shown on many concepts that we launched before.
Creating sort of sustainable and fuel-efficient aircraft are in literally everybody's interest, aren't they? It's for the customer, it's for you guys as manufacturers, but also for the planet, which has become so much more important now. Rodrigo, my next question is for you, or the audience's next question is for you. How important is the Energia Advisory Group, and how many members does it have?
Oh, this is key for any product development at Embraer. I have personally worked in over a dozen of those meetings, and that is key to define, requirements like seat capacity, range, what is the takeoff performance, what are maintenance requirements, for instance, and these are essential, let's say, in a normal product development. For those concepts that are novel technology, they are even more important. So it's absolutely key to have a really good product at the end. And for this advisory board, we have like over 25 people participating from over 20 airlines, giving their inputs from different parts of the world, with different business models, different backgrounds. So we believe that we will have very good quality of inputs for the Energia family, make sure that they come across really addressing customer needs.
Well, this is it, isn't it? I quite like the idea that you guys, by your nature, are creative. You build aeroplanes, you dream about what's coming next. And I would imagine that it's very easy to get carried away with that. You need an advisory board to rein it in and say, no, actually, does this work as a business model? It's got to be a sensible thing that we're achieving, because you're putting so much into it, aren't you, really? It's huge. Luis Carlos, question for you. What are the key decisions that you've made with these concepts? Have you given up on the H2 combustion and fully electric options?
No, we have not given up on those other technologies. For instance, at our eVTOL, Eve, we are applying 100% electric because it's low capacity and short range. So that's ideal for a fully electric airplane. On the other hand, if you go to a bigger airplane, let's say 100 seats and up, then the gas turbines, big gas turbines, they are efficient. And then you can have a direct hydrogen burn. In the middle, where the Energia family is, both capacity and range, then the gas turbines are not very efficient, small gas turbines are not efficient, and the electric, fully electric, is too heavy. So for this space, the hybrid electric and the fuel cells are the ideal propulsion systems.
I just got a question about sort of noise as well. I mean, noise is an environmental consideration as well. Electric aircraft generally quieter than combustion engines.
Absolutely. For the urban environment, the 100% the fully electric system will be quieter.
Which is, of course, where we're kind of looking to aim, because these smaller aircraft are designed to do shorter hops in and around urbanized areas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our Energia is also being designed with the clean wings and so forth. The E2s are already the most the quietest airplanes in the market, so we are designing the Energia along these lines as well.
We take a lot of inspiration from the glider concept of having a high aspect ratio wing. Rodrigo, back to you. We've got a question. What is the addressable market for these aircraft, and why do you think airlines will look at such small aircraft?
Yeah, so as we mentioned, we have three scenarios, right? We see different ways that the market can evolve. So we have a more conservative scenario that we call substitution for 4,000 units being delivered up to 2035. Then we have an intermediate scenario that we call evolution for 7,000 airplane, and that accounts with some accelerated replacement, considering some of the benefits of those sustainable aircraft. And then a more extreme scenario of revolution that can go up to 20,000 airplanes delivered up to 2035. And we see that with the new technology, there is the potential of significant cost reduction. There is also a different appeal because of the sustainability element, and this can really attract more passengers and more operators to this segment.
Yeah, and it's just going to make air travel so much easier as well, isn't it? I mean, I think that we'll look back on the larger, of course, we're going to need the larger aircraft for sort of intercontinental travel, but it'll certainly revolutionise what we're looking at as what's going to be the future. Luis Carlos, back to you. We've got a question from Dominic Perry of Flight Global here. Which propulsion manufacturers have you been joint conducting studies with, and what have the studies shown you?
Thank you, Dominic, for the question. This disruptive moment is also creating an opportunity to disrupt the supply chain. So we are working with the traditional power plant manufacturers, the ones who have been working forever, but working with startups as well. And we're also working with manufacturers of systems that didn't exist in the traditional systems, like the thermal management system. So we are really collaborating. We believe this is an open innovation time, right, to collaborate, and we are collaborating with lots of companies. And the result, as I believe I mentioned this earlier today, mission defines the architecture. So depending on the size, the application, the range, the optimum solution is a different solution.
Yes, certainly is. Rodrigo, back to you. We've got Ernest Alvai here of Air Insight. Are customers willing to pay a premium for zero emissions, or will these aircraft need excellent operating economics to be successful?
Yeah, I think both.
Yeah, right.
We heard from some customers that they see some segment of passengers willing to pay a premium, and therefore they could pay a premium on aircraft as well. But to be able to unlock the opportunities that we are seeing at the end, as I showed in my presentation, total cost of operation is a key element. So it needs to be competitive to be able really to attract operators, passengers. So we cannot give up one or the other. We can have a premium, but it still needs to be competitive in operating costs.
Absolutely it does. Ariane, back to you. Is the policy and regulatory environment in place to support the drive to net zero?
To some extent, yes, it's a good question, because we need a stable outlook to build new programs on. A new program for an aircraft manufacturer is a big step. So the technology needs to be ready. To Rodrigo's point, the commercial side needs to be ready, but also the regulatory framework, it needs to be harmonized around the world. We need to make sure that we understand where we're heading to. And obviously there's also some challenges from the past that we still need to solve. If you talk about, for example, the European single sky, that still needs to solve itself. We're still flying a lot of needless miles over Europe because of that problem not being fixed yet. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in parallel to the technical and the commercial challenges.
You know, aviation historically has always been a very sort of a very good space for everybody to think internationally. Lots of countries are often joined together in order to work together to be able to achieve better aviation objectives and things. And do you think that there are still areas of the world that are sort of not gearing up to sort of these goals of net zero carbon emissions?
No, I think we're coming to a point that everyone really understands the urgency. And I think if the past is a good predictor for the future, I think we'll all get our heads around making it all work. You were with us at the air show. You see how much attention there was for net zero. I think it's on everybody's mind at the moment. So I think we'll get there.
It's huge, isn't it? I mean, the conversations that were had at COP27 have just completely transformed everything. But of course, Embraer, you know, as you mentioned at the beginning of the question and answer session that we're having, Embraer are already coming up with super efficient designs. Luis Carlos, I'll come back to you. A question here from Compass Group of Indonesia. Do you have any specific reasons, such as related to efficiency, for putting the propellers on the rear of the aircraft rather than mounted underneath the wings?
Absolutely, yeah. It seems the most efficient architecture to have at the back of the fuselage, close to the electric motors, to have the hydrogen fuel tank, the fuel cells, the thermal management systems, and the harness, the wires, so short wires for high power. So it seems it's the most efficient architecture to have all this packaged at the end of the fuselage, close to the. You couldn't do that if the motors were in the wings. Yeah. And we can have a clean wing as well, very efficient wing.
I love them. I think it just looks amazing. Honestly, I'm bowled over by what we've seen today. Rodrigo, I'll come back to you. Richard Sherman here from Air Insight. Is the 20,000 aircraft in your forecast additional to your previous market forecast? What is market response to the two concepts? And there are three questions here. I'll ask you them one at a time, because otherwise you're going to get everything that I've just asked. Right, first question. Is the 20,000 aircraft in your forecast additional to your previous market forecast?
Yeah, they they are separate forecasts, so there is a little bit of overlap on the 50-seater, but most of the 20,000 were not included in our previous forecasts. We are doing separate work, as this is more exploratory work, let's say, than our normal market outlook.
As if life wasn't busy enough before. It just got a whole lot busier, right? Okay, next question. What is the market response to the two concepts that we've seen?
Yeah, so to the customers that we have been talking to, they are very happy because they see a solid path from Embraer to bring those to life, right? So we want to, as Arjen said, to combine the technical viability with economic viability. And they see that what we are bringing here, bring those two together, and they're very happy that we are progressing in our development.
Good. Can you confirm the potential EIS date?
Yeah, so for the hybrid electric is 2030, and for the fuel cell, 2035.
Amazing. Right, Luis Carlos, come to you for a penultimate question. We're running out of time. It's just gone like that. A question from Graham Warwick. Are the studies focused on propulsion, or do they include automation and single pilot or remote operation?
Thank you, Graham. Good question. At Embraer, our innovation governance goes along verticals. So on the Energia project, we talk about sustainability, right? But we do have another vertical, which is autonomous flight and single pilot flight. So this is another train of study, and they will eventually converge. We are studying a lot, single pilot and autonomy flights as well.
I mean, I look at drones as well. They're remotely operated now, aren't they? I think from a pilot's point of view, doesn't sound very good to me, but that's completely irrelevant. Ariane, our final question. We've run out of time pretty much. What do you see as the biggest challenge? The readiness, feasibility of new technologies, or the production of new fuels and new infrastructure to build these beautiful aircraft?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because we're talking about different pathways. And I think what we've clearly shown is to get to zero emission by 2050, we're going to need all those pathways together. So I think the SAF is a rather straightforward route. I think the hydrogen has a little bit more complexity. So let's talk about the last one. I think technology is challenging. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to make it work. But I think to get hydrogen into the market, to get enough green hydrogen produced, to get hydrogen access to airports and to get it on the aircraft, that's building a whole new infrastructure. And I think there's a big challenge as an industry. But we believe there's definitely a direction there for the future. It will take a bit longer to get there. So I think the technology for SAF and hybrid, I think, are the lower hanging fruit. And the hydrogen is more complex technology. But the infrastructure, that's a long way to go still.
It certainly is, but dream big, right?
We dream big, and we think we can do it.
We certainly do. Well, gentlemen, we've run out of time for question and answers now. Rodrigo Silva-Rasuva, Luis Carlos Afonso, Ariane Meyer, thank you very much for your time and your inputs. It's been fascinating listening to you.
Thank you, Arthur.
Thank you. Thank you, Arthur.
Okay, right, well, we're now coming towards the end of our show. Let's head over to Brazil for one last time for a final word from Johanna.
Thank you, Arthur. And on behalf of the team here in Brazil, it's been a pleasure to be able to share all the updates and developments with our global audience. Thank you again to Fred and Rafa for all the wonderful work you're doing. And we're signing off from Brazil. Back to you, Arthur.
Well, brilliant. What a successful day it's been. Thanks, Johanna. As we've seen today, the engineering team is nearing the completion of the first phase of concept exploration and evaluation. They'll soon be moving on to the second phase, and it's an important step towards getting these concepts into the air and the exciting part, the flying the passengers. Without doubt, Energia is a breath of fresh air for the regional aviation industry and the wider industry as a whole. Over the next coming months, the Embraer team will be progressing the concepts and sharing more updates and developments. So keep following Energia, the shape of things to come at Embraer Commercial Aviation Sustainability.com. See you later.